Yo, everybody, we're about to go live with Lenny, one guy that I connected with over Instagram and talk some raw about life. So let's get it.
Send out. We pops on here. We got some raw content. Yo, Lenny, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good. So why don't you start by giving everybody on here a little background, where you are, like your background, like where you came from, what you're doing now, and how you got started with all that.
Yeah. So I feel like this is always the hard part of talking about yourself. As far as background, kind of went to college, Penn State. I'm not gonna take too far back, but went to college at Penn State. From that point, tried to do a few different businesses, some of which were in the education industry to help college students. Some were fitness apparel.
Right.
And the most recent businesses are in real estate. I do real estate on the side as an agent. And currently I'm kind of I have a marketing agency, and I also try to do kind of like personal development things as well. I would say that's basically sort of the background to me. I think currently at this point, I'm focusing more on just trying to provide value to people with, I guess you can call it self-help, self-development. I don't know if I like that phrase exactly, but that's sort of where I'm at now.
No, that's cool. That's kind of like the same kind of field that we're both in. So what would you say, like, with everything, especially about personal development and personal health, what would you say is like something that has to do with like your purpose in enabling yourself to like conquer like subconscious thoughts and like daily things happening every day?
Like what what helps me get through those negative thoughts if they come up?
Right.
I would say honestly, it's a long-term idea of what I want in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did this exercise sort of last December, and I just kind of sat there. I had like a few different questions, and I sort of listed out if I continued to live the way I'm living now, what would the future be like in 5, 10, 20, 50 years?
Right.
And I think when you kind of get that long-term perspective, it really helps you sort of figure out what you want and what you don't want. Mm-hmm. And like when I kind of went through the exercise, I knew that the life I was living at that point was not the life I wanted long-term. So I had to do whatever it took to move away from that and to move towards what I wanted, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that you have to like look at yourself in the future and look at the perspective. Okay, what does my future self, 5 years, 10 years, want? And have that vision. So like, what are some big factors that play out like right now to help you succeed and get to that like 1% in that top level?
One thing in particular is not going backwards. I feel like when you make progress in something, you don't really want to slip backwards. You want to kind of do whatever you can to maintain it. And
right.
At least for me personally, like it's not enough to maintain something. I have to also kind of push forward and progress. Like it's weird. I don't know if you have experienced this too in your life, but like when I'm not moving forward, it feels weird. It feels just like, I don't know. Depressing is a strong word, but it almost feels depressing. It's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not really living life to my potential.
Right.
I don't know. It's a weird feeling. So I feel like the fear of slipping backwards kind of keeps me moving, keeps me progressing.
I like that. Like the fact that if you're not keeping yourself busy, if you're not progressing or making some sort of content towards whatever it is, it can put you in a spot where you say like, what am I doing, kind of thing. That's how kind of I look at it. That's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
So since that kind of relates to like your health level, right? Like when you're not doing something, you feel like in a situation, your emotions come out. how do you get back on the energy, and like why is that energy, you know, so important? Like when people talk about energy, like what is your perspective on that towards health?
I mean, so for me personally, to like kind of get back, the one main thing I do is I work out. I have to like I don't know if that'll work for everybody, but for whatever reason, me working out gives me energy, and it kind of starts off like the process of me being motivated and me getting stuff done. Like I like for example, I know like today, like this whole weekend that passed, I'm not gonna lie, I was very unproductive relative to what I would have liked to have been.
Right.
I did some stuff, but I didn't get that much done, and I didn't work out all weekend. And then this morning I kind of woke up. I woke up late because it's cold. I made an excuse to stay in bed a little bit longer. And I usually get up early to go to the gym. And once I went to the gym, even though it was later than usual, I don't know why, it just kind of starts off my day, and it gives me more energy, and it kind of sets the tone for the entire day.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, in a strange way, for me at least, to get energy, I have to go to the gym.
I mean, there's always, everybody has their way of like, you know, getting that boom to their day, or getting that start to their day, whatever it is, like getting that dopamine, you know, getting that sweat in, or whatever it is. So like, what do you think is one thing you could tell people that happened in your past that, you know, was a big part of your big step to overcome that struggle from that past to keep going?
I would say one of the things that was really like a really low point in my life in the past. When I was in college, I went through. So I'm careful saying this because I know there are some people that are diagnosed with clinical depression. I went through a really bad bout of depression, but I don't like to say it's clinical depression because I never went to a doctor. I was never diagnosed, but it was just a lot of days. I forget the exact year, but a lot of days where I just felt sad. I didn't have any motivation. I didn't go to class. I didn't really eat that much. I didn't do anything. I just would stay in my dorm, either play video games or watch TV or just sleep all day. I didn't really do anything. I was completely unmotivated. Right. And I know, like, after a while, I just felt really bad about myself, and I didn't know why. And it just probably sounds super weird, but I was watching YouTube, and there was an interview series with Dwayne Johnson at the time. And I think at this point, like, Dwayne Johnson was trying to revamp his career. He went from being a wrestler to trying to do movies, but his movies no one liked his movies, kind of. He was in movies like The Tooth Fairy, and no one really liked him. And he was trying to change his career. And he had this interview with Oprah, and he was talking about how he went through depression and how he sort of shifted going from depression to what he is today. First thing he would do is wake up at like 4:30 a.m., go to the gym, and then he'd have his whole day planned out, and he'd do movie shoots and do A, B, and C, whatever. And at the time, I was getting big into Dwayne Johnson. My friend got me into watching wrestling, so I was really a big fan of his. And I was like, oh, man, this huge dude, Dwayne Johnson, who's like 6'4", 6'5", just insanely, insane human being, can be depressed. Right. So it didn't make me feel as weird. Because it's like, okay, if he can be depressed, then fair enough, anyone can be depressed. And I literally, to kind of get me out of it, I just mimicked him. That's literally exactly what I did. I would watch videos of Dwayne Johnson, different interviews, and if he said, I'd wake up at 4:30, do A, B, and C, I was like, all right, I'll do it. I'll wake up at 4:30 and work out and work as hard as him, or at least try to work as hard as him. And I think over time, that sort of, it worked because I got out of depression, and it sort of gave me a different perspective of myself. So I know it's probably like a long-winded answer, but
no, that's like actually a real good answer that you say, like mimicking, because I mean, obviously everybody, even if if you're not motivated yourself, like through like your own passion, whatever it is, then having somebody that you look up to as like, if it's like a mentor, or somebody that if he can get through it, then I can get through it, and like following the steps that he took. that's big. So as of like, what was the time where like that made you, get into the project that you are now to, get into uh, development and like self-help and health? Like what got you into that, and like anything that's tied you up during that process, and like what are you doing about it?
Like how did that lead me into personal development?
Yeah, how does it lead you into personal development, and like what are some of the drawbacks that are happening that are keeping you pushing, like keep moving forward, like no matter like what steps in the way?
I think as far as getting into personal development, I don't know. I have this weird philosophy where, and this might be controversial, but I feel like in part, at least this was true for me, and I feel like it's been true for other people I've talked to that had depression. I think a part of it is it's untapped potential. I think that's the simplest way to put it. I think deep down we kind of know that we either should be doing something or could be doing something, and we aren't doing whatever we need to do to kind of get to that next level. And that's sort of what's making us feel sad or depressed. So I feel like nowadays I try to push stuff that I guess people consider personal development, because I just, at least for me, there's a point where you realize that other people have more potential and they're not really using it. I don't know if that sounds bad or not, but say for example, if everyone were to use their potential to the fullest, society as a whole would be significantly better, in theory at least. So that's sort of what led to getting deeper into personal development. Me just kind of going through the depression, realizing that once I shifted my thinking about whatever it was I was doing at that time, once I shifted it, it became a huge positive. And I sort of just kept the momentum going as long as I could. If that makes sense.
No, I mean it makes sense, like, because it's kind of like a drive that keeps you in that momentum. Like, okay, I gotta keep going, or else, I'll being afraid that you'll fall back to that old self, and like not allowing that to happen. And for me, it's clear. So like, what is it? What are some? You could say like mindset. I don't know. I don't like using the word hacks, but like using some like mindset hacks to, keep yourself looking more into the future and like conquering every single day rather than, looking in that past. I mean, you mentioned mimicking, but, not mimicking might not always be enough to like keep pushing forward.
Yeah. So my thing is it's related to what you said about mimicking. I feel like, to me, it's good and bad what I'm gonna say. You can use it good or bad, but I think for most people, it's used negatively, and that's comparing themselves to people. So I would say mimicking is good in the short run as far as comparison goes, but long term, you don't really want to mimic other people too much, because you kind of run into issues where you're just not that person. Like, I can only mimic Dwayne Johnson to a certain extent, but no matter how much I mimic him, I'm not 6'4". I'm not this gigantic Samoan dude who has a family of wrestlers. I'm not him. So I have to sort of deviate. Yeah, so you have to sort of deviate and do your own thing. So I feel like the best way to kind of keep momentum going and keep your mindset and everything good is to compare, but instead of comparing to other people, just compare to who you were yesterday. So, like, for example, to me, I think one of the best parallels, one of the best things to compare anything to is fitness, because fitness has this, I don't know, you can kind of make a comparison to fitness easily, and I think most people can kind of get the idea of what you're trying to say. To me, it's similar to if you're trying to, for example, bench press, and you have a certain goal of, say, benching 200 pounds. You don't want to look at the guy on the bench next to you, because for all you know, he's been benching for like 20 years or 10 years, or he was a college athlete, or he could be on steroids, or maybe he just has better genetics, shorter arms. But it makes more sense if you're trying to get to 200 in your bench press. Focus on how you were last week. If last week you did 170 pounds. This week you did 175 pounds. You're winning. So yeah, another long-winded answer, I guess, but compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not necessarily to everyone else around you. I would say would be the answer for that.
That's pretty good. So obviously with that comes accountability, like to be able to keep yourself pushing. Okay, that happened yesterday. I was able to do 75 bench presses yesterday. So now, you know, I should target for sets of 25 4 times to get to 100. You know, so how do you keep that accountability towards yourself if it's not, you know, rather if it's someone else helping you out or if it's like on your own? What is your standpoint on that? And having accountability for yourself.
So I would say ideally it helps to have someone else hold you accountable. Like there are plenty of people out there who are accountability coaches. I'm not one of them, but I think sometimes accountability partners or coaches kind of get they get a little bit of a negative rap because I think people don't understand the value in them. I would say for most people, you probably should have an accountability partner. I'm looking for one. I don't have one. I'm really bad at finding one. But for me personally, as far as what I do to keep myself accountable, it's just consistently thinking about what is there to lose. Like, I think to me, that's the ultimate accountability partner. Just sort of thinking long term and saying to yourself, you know, if I don't do this, what do I have to lose and what do I have to gain? So, like, for example, for some people, like money tends to be a big goal for a lot of people. They want to make X amount of money.
That's facts.
My thing is always, if you're trying to create a business or a brand or something and you want to make more money, it makes a lot of sense to sort of go, if I don't do this, what will I lose? Like, what opportunities do I shut myself off to? So that's sort of how I keep myself accountable, because it kind of creates a certain sense of fear in me.
So, I mean, that's big that you say, like, accountability partners. Like, I have a couple, I'm not like a couple for specific things that we hold each other accountable for, and you know, if it's health or just like relationships or friendships, or like keeping each other like, okay, this is what we did this week, this is what we're gonna do next week, and then we're gonna follow up with it throughout the week. That's a big thing, to be able to find somebody, because like at the end of the day, you can't ever do anything on your own, no matter how hard you want to think that you can. Because your vision can only go so far. So like, what is, you know, you mentioned about energy, like you have to go out to the gym, but like obviously, let's say, you know, the gym was like closed, everything, you know, like everything that's happened, like the pandemic and like all that. What is it that you can do for yourself to like obviously just all of a sudden like boom, like all my energy and time is like momentum is all there. I'm gonna get this done today. Like that, nothing's going the other way because of blah blah blah.
Yeah. Well, so as a worst case scenario, if the gym's closed and if I can't work out for whatever reason, I do this. I don't do it a ton. Usually the gym is enough, but I do some really weird stuff where, like, I don't know if you've ever seen any of my older Instagram videos, but like I'll flail, like in my apartment. I'll flail. I'll play loud music. I once had a mentor who would bark, so I do that from time to time. I'll bark, and anything. I think like people like Tony Robbins, some people like that call it state control, and you just have to do something to get your state up. And like like this is funny. I actually public before, where I would go to a bar and like I go and it's like 9-10 o'clock at night and I'm super exhausted and don't be weirded out about to do, but I'll literally just go in and just kind of be like, and just like freak out, like just like that, like freak out. And you see like you're laughing, but it's what happens. And so like
I know, I mean,
I do it,
I don't doubt it. Like I don't doubt that, because sorry to cut you off, but like I had a mentor that, when, you know, once said, he said, you know, at the beginning of the day, because you wake up in the morning, you know, you might have a drive. Okay, I get up every day. I'm going to go commit to this because I want to see myself 5 years, 10 years down the road. But sometimes it's not like that, right? You can't just pop out of bed. So one thing he said, he was like, yo, go outside and, you know, just, doesn't matter if it's 5:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, you know, 6 in the morning, just go out there and just be like, let's go, and like just yell it out,
Yeah.
like, all the, you know, all the energy, and all of a sudden, like, it'll wake you up because it's like, okay, you heard that, like, you heard kind of the echo of yourself, get yourself pumped in the cold. It's not like hot outside, you know, in, you know, the cold showers or cold always kind of gets your lungs pumping a little bit, so it gets that energy up. I mean, that's a huge thing, but I don't know if that was the only thing that you were going to say, but, you know, that the fact that I just want to tell everybody, like, just do that, even if it's like you might think it's weird, you know, it could help another person because they might try it, and all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, that actually works. You know, if I didn't see that somewhere else, I wouldn't have ever tried that, right? So it's, you know, it's not about just reflecting on, okay, what do you think? It's about, you know, what did others may think about it. So I don't know if that was, like I said, I don't know if that was the only thing, but if there was more, keep going.
No, I mean, that's basically it. Like anything like that kind of just, anything that can sort of make you laugh without any external influence, something that you can just do on your own that kind of pumps you up. Like for some people, it's music. You know, you might listen to a good song and you just kind of get amped up. That works. If you don't have music, you can do whatever you want, you know, go crazy. I feel like that works just as well, if not better. But yeah, you know, it's, you just gotta move like a lot. Like sometimes you know, I had a roommate who I feel like kind of did it. I don't know if he did it intentionally in the past. He would wake up every single morning, and it was always the funniest thing. He'd wake up and just kind of go like, and he'd do like the weirdest yawn, but it would always wake us all up and get us all laughing because it was so weird. But I feel like, you know, he might not have been doing it on purpose, but I feel like it probably gave him energy in the morning. It was so silly that it raised the state. So yeah, you know, for anyone listening to this, I definitely think finding ways to bring your state up naturally without any external influences is definitely a trick worth investing time into.
No, I mean, no, that's true, because the more, I'm not trying to say that sleep is not important, but the more you spend in bed, you know, not actually doing something productive, it's not actually being productive on the phone, then, you know, you got to find that state that will get you in the flow of, okay, I need to get up and get started. So, like, what is obviously, you know, some people might say, oh, you know, this guy is, what is he talking about? He's saying, you know, we got to, you know, listen to some music and just go, oh, like that, and just do some wild, you know, some people are going to criticize you and some people are going to take it serious and might actually try it for themselves. So what is something you could tell the people, you know, obviously in your self-development, because it helps you, so you want to help everybody else, like say, this is something that I implement, if it helps you or not, you know, that's important. How do you react to that feedback and keep it going, instead of, you know, if someone, you know, on the street gave you the middle finger, or they called you names or whatever, or, you know, build some kind of bad rapport with you, how do you react to that?
If I would say if you do encounter somebody who's like actually a jerk or like mean because you do something like that and it bothers them, me personally, this might sound terrible. Now, me personally, I just don't care. Like, if I've had situations where like I'll do like the bark and I'm outside and I'm in public. I don't do it really when I'm around like a lot of people, but sometimes it'd be funny, I'll do it. And you might get someone who kind of looks over and they're annoyed or agitated. I would say, me personally, I don't care, because I don't know. In a weird way, it's like you can't really be in control of how people feel about you. Like, if that makes sense. Like, it's not really your responsibility to make others feel good about you, because then you can't really do anything if you're concerned about everyone's opinions of yourself. So like, as far as dealing with people who might be upset or mad, if someone's listening to this and they're cautious, like, if someone gets mad, what do? I would say just easier said than done, of course, but don't care, because chances are the person that cares a lot, they're probably just generally negative. They probably care maybe too much about things that they shouldn't. Don't let it affect you that much. I will say though, in general, most people, oddly enough, do not notice. Like, anyone watching, I kind of challenge you, go like to a bar one day and like bark or like wave your arms around and do something crazy. I guarantee you most people, they might look over for like a half second. They'll continue doing whatever they were doing in the first place. Like, most people just don't pay attention. And that's not a bad thing. But I think most people are really concerned with themselves, which is great, because you don't have to be concerned about them being concerned about you, which probably sounds really confusing, but yeah, like, basically just don't worry about it regardless. Just don't worry about other people's opinions. Don't be a jerk.
I mean,
but like, don't let it kind of
good.
Yeah.
That's the part that you say, like the word I don't care is necessarily just meaning that, people think too much about themselves. That's why they say the subconscious mind is so powerful, because those negatives are always what usually counteract the conscious of the positives. And so being able to just say one time, go out and do it one time. Okay, I'm going to go to this bar. I'm going to go out in the middle of Times Square, if you're in New York, and just do something crazy and, see what the reaction is. A lot of people might not pay attention and just go about their thing. Like, they'll go for a second, but, it won't hurt to try it. But, not a lot of people would even be willing to do that, because like, there's just so much inside holding them at that time,
Yeah. On a somewhat related note, for anyone that's like listening or watching this that might still be not convinced that people will not care, just go on YouTube and type in like prank videos or something crazy. Like, type in a video where someone does something out of the norm. Most people, if you look at the background, they don't even turn. They just continue walking. They might glance, but no one really cares. Like, I think I saw a video of some guy, I think it was in New York, and he gets in the middle of like a crosswalk. He just starts doing push-ups, like blocking everyone's path in the crosswalk. And no one cared. They just walked around and kept going about their day. So like, you can do some really weird stuff, and I feel like for the most part, for whatever reason, people are really just concerned about what they were planning on doing that day or how they look, and they're too concerned to care about how you look. So, which to me is a blessing, as far as I can tell.
I mean, it's just a matter of going down and doing it, whatever that, challenges that you don't think people will see it, or they might think criticized of like what you did. But for me, I do push-ups all the time. Like, there's times like I'll be bored, like I'll be at work or something. I'll be like, okay, I'm getting bored. I'll just drop down and do some push-ups. And then some people, they'll be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just doing push-ups. I got a little bored. I had to pump myself up a little bit. Get the blood flowing, adrenaline. And then, I went back and, did my thing. And okay, they were like, oh, okay. So it's not, the opinion is always stronger than the actual result of the outcome that you may think, because that's just how the brain works and the body works. So last thing here is, we had like a lot of good gold nuggets here for everybody watching. But what is the last thing or the best advice you would give to the people before, we hop out of here?
I would say the best piece of advice I can give: do your best to think long term about your life. I truly just think one thing I feel like I see consistently, a lot of people don't seem to think long term about their lives. I feel like, especially when people are, I think most often with 20-year-olds, not 20 exactly, but people in their 20s, there's this weird thought I feel like that they have, where they're just not going to get older, or they're not going to age, or like nothing will change.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a weird thought. Like, I don't know. I'll just see people that they'll make a decision that, like, so for example, I say that because my personal philosophy is that there are two different types of decisions. You have irreversible decisions and reversible decisions. And reversible decisions are things like money. Like, if you gamble like $10,000 and lose it, it sucks. But chances are you won't die. You'll get $10,000 back eventually. Or at the very least, you'll have money in the future. That's not the last bit of money that you'll ever have. But
Right.
one thing that's irreversible, for example, like in your 20s, not investing in your health, that's irreversible, because you could, I shouldn't say that. Technically it's not, but you can't go back in time. So the time lost, the health that you could have accumulated, you miss out on that opportunity. So now you go into your 30s and, building up your health might be a little bit harder because you didn't invest that time in your 20s when it was easier. And if you don't do it in your 30s, now in your 40s, it's harder. And the longer you wait, the more difficult it gets and the more issues you might have. So, I don't know. The best thing I would advise people to do is do their best to think long term about their lives and break it up into chunks. Like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever, until like death. And just look back, and if you can predict what your life could be at 80, versus what you want it to be at 80, do your best to make it the way you want it to be, and not the way it most likely will be based on what you're currently doing, assuming you're not doing things that you want to do. If that was confusing, let me know. Sometimes I like talk in weird circles.
There's a lot of things that are confusing. I'm gonna just say this real quick. Is Lenny here just told us you gotta look into your future self, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road. So for everybody here, before we hop off, let me put you on this and make you thinking about what is it that I just said? What does this mean? Just pretend like you're trying to plant the biggest tree in the world. How are you gonna make everybody else plant that tree? You gotta understand how to actually plant the seed before you do it, and by doing that, you got to see the whole vision of it and learn to plant the seed before you actually plant the seed. Understand what that means. If you don't, think on it and figure it out, or hit one of us. I'm sure we actually have an idea. We wouldn't help you, but thank you for having you on here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Are you happy?